Hello, hi everyone, and happy Friday. I hope you are well and having a great end of the week. Here in London, it's a sunny day, so I'm quite excited for an amazing day. Looking forward to the weekend. Thank you for joining us for another BeLegendary Fireside Chat with me and my friend and peer coach Divina. Welcome, Divina.
Hi, thank you for having me. Love to be here.
Really excited to have you here with us. Um, I will start to ask you, Divina,
Mhm.
explain us what do you do and why do you do it?
Yeah, great question. So, what do I do? I help women who have had challenging cesarean births to dissolve the shame and the guilt that they feel around that and to build their confidence back up so that they can live the life that they want to live, have great connection with their baby, with their partner. And really about kind of filling them up from the inside out.
Yeah.
I do it because I didn't have it. So I had three challenging cesarean births.
Mm,
And after my experiences, I realized that there just wasn't anywhere to go with that. There just didn't seem to be anywhere to go with those feelings or emotions. It was kind of more like you've had your baby, just get on with it now.
yeah.
You've
Yeah.
had your baby, just go. And you're kind of left with these feelings of maybe some confusion, of like not knowing what happened or why it happened,
Yeah.
disappointment because you thought you were going to have a vaginal birth and you didn't. Lots of things that happen within the labor. Um, Times where you maybe I didn't advocate for myself, or I felt I was taken advantage of, or um, things that I just didn't, I wish didn't happen. I
Yeah.
realized that after the birth, there was nowhere to take that.
Yeah.
There was just nowhere to go. And so I thought, I'm probably not the only one who's been through that or feels that way, which is then why I started birth trauma recovery coach and then realized that no, I'm not the only one. But unfortunately, many women experience unplanned, unwanted cesareans and have a lot of feelings and emotions around it and just don't know what to do with them. So I take women through what I call the HEAL method, which is all about head, emotions, anchoring, and living to be able to move through all of that emotion, to process what happened, to
Yeah.
then build their confidence and live life the way they want to.
That's amazing. That's fascinating. And I believe we all have different experiences in terms of birth. And you mentioned shame as
Mm,
one of the emotions and a word that uh, many women might
mhm,
feel or feel.
mm,
Um, how do you see society and all those, even, I don't know, family,
mhm, mhm.
society, friends,
Yeah,
um, in terms of being part of why there's
mm,
that shame in this process?
yeah. I feel that that's the reason. That's is society. If you look at um, movies and TV and TV
Yeah,
shows, different things, and then even in from that, so media, just all media, and then obviously we humans consume the media and then follow these ideas, and all in the media, what is celebrated is vaginal birth, like
yeah,
that's how you give birth, and um, if there ever is a on a media someone who's had a cesarean, it's always seemed as like the lesser option. Like,
yeah,
oh dear, you've had that option. It's never really celebrated. And so with that, women then feel shame about the fact they've had a cesarean, even if it's one that they've chosen, can sometimes not really want to share it or tell anyone about it because they're afraid of what that person's going to think of them, that they've chosen a cesarean or that they've had a cesarean. So yeah, with society as a whole, vaginal birth is celebrated, though I will want to say that I understand that vaginal birth That's how babies come out of women. But there are times in which a cesarean is either needed or it's wanted.
Yeah.
And okay too. That's also okay. And then unfortunately, family and friends can also be that way, that kind of want to pity you because you've had a C-section. And it can make the woman feel really isolated and alone in her feelings of either she wanted a cesarean, and so she's actually very happy about that, or the cesarean was unwanted and it wasn't really what she wanted, but she felt like there was no other option in that moment. And it can make her feel the shame and the guilt. Like, I wish I'd done something different, or yeah, I feel shame that I had one. So I think society has a lot to answer for.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. And in my own personal experience, and we talked about this before, like I've told you that I chose, so my choice was to do the C-section. And at the time, I remember it was 19 years ago, I felt that shame because it was my decision. I made the decision with my doctor together. She gave me the choice because I was lucky, very lucky with her, because she supported that women can choose if
Yeah,
they wish to.
yeah,
So I had her support, but I noticed that around me there was, the criticism or, why is she choosing that? She's healthy, so she could try at least, right? Try to see if it worked or not. Why immediately go through that option? So I felt that part of the shame of the
yeah.
shame. So I
Even
totally
that wording that you use then, which is interesting, like she's healthy, so why wouldn't she? So
yeah,
already, like, C-section is kind of put together with, obviously there's something wrong with you
yeah,
if you have one. Like, and it's just, yeah, it's a real societal thing that it seems that, yeah, C-section would mean that something is wrong, or something's wrong with you, or something didn't go right. There's
yeah,
nothing really celebrated about it, which is a real shame for the women who choose it or have had to go through it, because then there's a lot of emotions and feelings that also then have to be processed and worked through. Um, but yeah, I find it really interesting.
yeah. And we talk about the during and the afterwards and the healing where
Mm,
you support a lot. Do
mm,
you do something or also think about and help women in terms of the pre, because with
mm,
all your experience, and this is
yeah,
me now thinking out loud, with all
yeah,
our experience, having already
yes.
three of those experience and the women
Mm,
you work, is there anything before, while even
mm,
when you are thinking about getting
mm,
pregnant and then
mm,
you are pregnant,
mm,
that could help you as well on that journey,
yeah,
even if it's your choice and you choose that you want the C-section, or
yeah,
if it's not your choice but it happens.
yeah, definitely. And I like how you said, even when you're thinking about becoming pregnant, because I really think that's where it should begin. Like,
Huh.
when you're thinking about, maybe I'd like to become pregnant and have a baby, like, start thinking about um, what you would like birth to look like for you, um, and also start thinking about your choices and start. I was talking to a friend the other day saying this, that un- unfortunately, with the medical system that we have at the moment, um, it's like you need a PhD before you go in to have to go and give birth. You didn't used to. You used to be able to just go in to, if you were going to have your baby in a hospital, to go in and have your baby and that just be that. But whereas now you do need to know a lot more about your rights.
Ah,
In birth, you need to know about your human rights, because unfortunately, what's happening in the medical system at the moment is women are feeling very overwhelmed and kind of coerced into different procedures and different things, and being labeled as high risk when you go. I mean, this is happening at your like 8 and 12-week appointment. So
wow.
it's really important that even when you're thinking about becoming pregnant, that you start to research, like, first researching, like, what is it that I would like my birth to look like, and then what hospital supports that, for me, because
Okay.
not every hospital supports every way of giving birth. And then you do really need to look at what your rights are in birth. And there is one that's called birthrights.org, I think it is, which is an amazing resource. But things like, do I have to have scans? Do I have to have vaginal examinations? Do I have to be consultant led? Do I have to give birth in a hospital? Can I give birth at home? And by the way, I'm saying, can I? The answers to all of these questions are whatever you want. But these are the kind of things that you want to be able to think about and research, because when it comes to it, and then you do become pregnant and you're like, okay, maybe, I want to have a home birth. Well, not every hospital will support that.
Support that, yeah.
So that's important for you to know, and then you want to be able to look at your alternatives. Like, so what else is there? Like, could I maybe get a doula? Could I get an independent midwife? And there's lots of other options. Can I go to a different hospital? I think that's even something that women don't realize, that they think they have to go to the one that's closest to them. But you can give birth wherever you want. So, maybe you want to give birth at a different hospital. You can also do that. But you do really need to do quite a bit of prep now to make sure that you can really have the birth that you want, because it can be really easy when you go in to be swept up by suggestions by healthcare professionals, which might be very generalized and not specific to you.
Okay.
That's one thing that I would say, is think about the birth that you want, and then really research your rights in birth and also your human rights.
That's very interesting. And there are two questions that come to me immediately after what you said. One is, why that change, right? Why we see that change? And the second one is, shouldn't we trust the health practitioners? Oh, the word is not coming. Shouldn't we trust them? Because if it's so challenging, and you are seeing very strange and things that we wouldn't conceive today that happen, where are we going with this?
So that's an interesting one. Why is it? Why the change? So back in the day, all women had their babies at home. Like that's what they did. All women had their babies at home, and you would be supported by other women who had previously had children, and that would be your team. That would be your birth team. And then the NHS was born, and women began to have their babies in hospital, and less at home. And then as time has gone on, and this, I always trying to say this in a non-conspiratory way, but it's just the facts when you look into it. What makes the NHS this most money is birth.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, not many people do. Every intervention, so when, if forceps are used, if caesarean is used, if inductions are used, all of these things create money for the NHS.
Okay.
And it's important to know that, because then it will may help for you to understand maybe why some things might be offered to you generally and not for you specifically, because there are other agendas that are also at play. I'll say that. So that could be a reason why more interventions are happening, and why a change has happened when it comes to birthing. And then, should we not trust the professionals? I think the professionals, when in an emergency, absolutely should be trusted, and you would follow their guidance when you're in an emergency. But what's important to know is that birth is not an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a natural occurrence that sometimes requires medical assistance. And in that sometimes category, which would actually really be kind of like between 1% and 5%, really, they're needed. But in the majority of cases, birth, it can just be allowed to unfold. Can just be allowed to unfold. If you choose to have vaginal birth, birth can just be allowed to unfold. Birth can take some time as well.
Yeah.
So that could be another reason why you might think that have things changed, because if you're birthing in hospital and hospitals are quite full, overrun, and they may need you to birth quicker. The only way to do that would be to do some kind of intervention, like an induction, which could be like a drip or an induction, but something that speeds up your labor.
Speeds up the process,
that could be a reason why things have changed, and why things aren't just left to unfold. And again, what's really important and why you must do your research is that it's really important to know what that means for you and your baby, because that may not always be explained to you, like what an induction means. Like when I had mine, I was just told, we're going to give you the drip to speed up your labor. I had no idea what a drip was. They said speed up the labor. That sounded like a good idea to me because it had been a day. So I just went with it, and not understanding what the benefits or risks were of doing so to me or my baby. So it's important to know these kind of things and to do this kind of research. As I said, it's not something that you used to have to do. You didn't have to kind of do all of this research and to kind of get the birth that you want. But these days you do, because it's not only you and your baby. There are other agendas at play. Timing is a huge one. And if you want to be given the most amount of time to just allow your labor to unfold as it does, you need to research ways in which you can do that.
Okay, so the pre is research, know your rights, research about, well, think about what you want and see what options you have. So it's gathering information and know about what you want and your rights to be able to get the birth you want. And in terms of support on that phase, let's say on the pre-phase, because once more, you are alone, right? You have your partner, but you are alone on this. What would you suggest for someone that is starting to think, okay, I want to get pregnant, research, understand what I want? What support can I get? Can someone get?
So if you do have a partner, absolutely include them like in this, because you will really need them. You'll need them. No matter what birth you have, you'll want some kind of support. So definitely share that research with them, whether it's in like, you do little screenshots of this and WhatsApp messages, or just sitting down and looking at stuff together, and really making sure, and this is something that I spoke with my husband afterwards, so you want to do it before, is I never really explained to him what I was okay and not okay with when it came in the hospital, because I just assumed that he would just know, because he just knows me, so he'll just know that I'm okay with this or not okay with this. You can't assume anything. So definitely speak to your partner about what you're okay with. Like if you're, at one point in my first birth, had about 5 students come into the room and watch me in labor for a time. And because I was in labor, which you will find when you become in labor, you're not able to really vocalize things because you're concentrating, you're in the zone. And I really wanted them to get out. And I really wanted him to tell them to get out. But he thought that was fine. Like afterwards, when we spoke about this, he's like, oh, I thought that would be fine. No, it wasn't fine. But I also didn't tell him that was going to be fine. So really make sure that you let your partner know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, who you want in the room and who you don't, because you do have a choice in all of these things. So definitely include your partner in all of that. There are doulas. Doulas help you with emotional support. They can be there with you. They can help advocate for you, which is like their main role, is to really help advocate. Because as I said, when you're in the zone and you want to be in the zone, when people are asking questions or you just don't want to be disturbed, so you want someone to be able to advocate for you. And also not even just in the labor. I mean, if you have a doula from earlier on, in all of your appointments that you may have, they can come with you. They can just help you understand what is happening to make sure that you really understand. So that's a really great support. And if you have, friends, like a best friend that you might want to have around, or a mother-in-law, or just someone else that you want. I mean, because a birth partner can be anyone that you trust.
Exactly.
Yeah, anyone that you trust that you want support from, they can help you. But the main thing is to keep communicating and make sure that they know what it is that you want. And also, it's okay to change your mind. Just want to throw that in there, because sometimes you change your mind. Like, you want one thing at the start, and then as you've gone through and you get to the later weeks, you actually decide, no, I want to do something else. Maybe just a message to those who are birth partners: just trust them. Trust the pregnant person.
Yeah.
And be there for them in all of their decisions, because that's all that they actually really want, is just to be supported in their decisions. But yes, and I mean, hopefully you also get if you're going to birth in the hospital, you get a great midwife. And you can have, for some, it's difficult to have that continuity of care. That's been a kind of big thing mentioned, but you may have a consistent midwife, and they can also be a really great support for you. These days, they're on text, you can message them and things like that. So hopefully you'll also have a great midwife. But yeah, if you are on your own, I would look for that support somewhere, whether that be something that you might have to bring in, like a doula, or your friend's circle.
Yeah. Makes totally sense.
Mm.
And I would like to go a bit deeper in terms of the healing part. So we all hope, of course, that we have amazing birth experiences, but unfortunately, that's not always the reality, and we know that. So in terms of the work that you do, if there's more traumatic experience during the birth, how is that? I'm curious. So I was very lucky. I had an amazing doctor that supported me. I had someone with me as well that was a great support. So my C-section was actually a very, let's say, an easy process. I healed very fast, so there was no trauma. But I know that I have friends and I know women that really had very challenging experiences. So in terms of the healing process, I would like to go a bit deeper on how do you approach that healing process with the women you work with.
Yeah. And I like what you said there as well about how, yours was different, and you had a good experience. It's good to also say, the C-section experiences can be also great. And they can also be very healing, especially if you've had a traumatic vaginal birth first. That's some of the reasons why some people might choose to have a C-section the second time, and then they have a wonderful healing experience. And also to mention that birth trauma is defined by the individual. So anything something that you might find traumatic, I might not. Something I do, you may not, and that's absolutely okay. And for most of the women that I work with, the C-section, the actual procedure itself, was the easiest part.
Yeah.
It was actually everything that happened before and everything that happened after is what caused the trauma. So, I mean, one of the main ones that I deal with, or that I hear from women, is just being treated disrespectfully by staff, by medical staff, feeling scared, feeling like they were going to die. And this is before their C-section. Feeling alone, feeling not listened to. And I mention them because I think some people might think that it's the act of the C-section that is called the birth trauma. It's actually, a lot of the time, it's not that. It's what happened before, not being listened to. When you're in your most vulnerable state, having procedures happen to you, like an induction or like a vaginal examination, that you didn't want, and you said no, and they continue to do so. These are the things. Actually, I've had women that 10, 15 years on still remember the one thing that midwife said that made them feel like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
And those are the things that we really deal with in that I help women on, is how to kind of overcome those things. So it's not always the physical part of it, though that can be a major part of like physical healing, but really
Yeah.
what we're speaking is really the emotional side of all of it. So I start with, in my heal method, the H is for the head, and this is for all of the thoughts. So we really go into what happened in birth, all of it, not, and we don't leave any stone unturned, like right from the start all the way through. Who was there? What was said? What happened? And we go through all of it, because it's in the fine details of like a midwife who says, "Just shut up and push."
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the part that rings in your head every night, not the other part. It's normally these little fine details, and then we work on like how that made you feel, what you made that mean, like what did that mean to you, and then we work on how to kind of overcome those feelings, and basically being able to say that that you're not those feelings, you're not that thing. Then we move on to like the emotion, like how that actually feels in the body. We do a lot of somatic work, which with the actual physical body as well, but certain words, certain things that happened, we don't always connect with our body as much as we should, but sometimes even a certain word can provoke a certain feeling like inside of your body, and that's what I work a lot on. Is so when I say the word X to you, when I say the word induction, like what happens in your body? Some will like, I can feel it in my stomach, I feel like my heart is pounding,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So we look for in the actual physical body what is also happening. And the A is for the anchor, which is the physical part. Because also the hospital don't tell you how to heal either, or how to rehabilitate yourself. Like for you, as you healed really quickly, which is great.
Yeah.
For
I was
some,
like,
it can be months, it can be years, and they
yeah.
still feel numb around that area, or still feeling pain, still feeling back pain, and just assuming that it's normal. It's absolutely not normal, by the way. You shouldn't feel like that months or years after your C-section. So we work on anchoring the actual physical body as well. And then the L is, I work on the living. Like, what do you want life to look like?
Yeah.
Because for a lot of mums, we can get swept up in the baby and completely forget like who we were or what we did or what we even
Yeah.
like. One of the questions I always ask is, what do you enjoy to do? And most women are like, I don't know. Know what I enjoy. Like I've forgotten. Like I've just forgotten because we're just so swept up in the baby and in what happened. So really remembering, like who you are, like what you, and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's different as well. Like maybe now you've had a baby, you like different things, but we have to find out what they are. Like what is it that you like to do? What do you want life to look like? What would you like your relationship to be like with your baby? Because we know that bonding can be affected. What would you like that to look like? If you have a partner, what do you want that relationship to look like? Friends, family, what do you want it to look like? And then we put in actions and stages to get that to happen. So, because what I really wanted this to be, and what I do is a holistic
Yeah.
recovery.
Approach.
I don't want it to just be about the birth and the baby. It has to be about the mom, the woman, the person. So making sure that it's a holistic approach. So that's kind of what we go through over a 12-week period.
That's lovely. I love it. And it's really important in terms of our emotions and feelings,
Mm.
um, just to let them be and
Yeah,
let them out. Just because
yeah,
what I feel sometimes is that we believe that those things are bad. So
yeah.
that's bad. Shame is bad. Guilt is bad. And
Hmm.
when we label them as bad, it's hidden, right? But they
Exactly.
are there, and
Hmm.
they are the driver of a lot of the things that we do, unfortunately. So I do believe that's very important. It's just to accept those feelings as they are. We
Yeah,
have them,
yeah,
and it's natural, it's normal after an experience like that.
absolutely. I always say the same thing. Like your reaction is a normal response to
Yeah.
a traumatic event. Like that's how you're supposed to react. but now we just have to learn what to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a normal reaction.
It's a
Yeah.
normal one. And
Mm,
one thing that we talk about is about the professionals, health professionals. And I do think there are amazing health professionals out there that are a great example.
mm,
What would you, if a health professional is listening to us, and we thank you, by the way, first of all, for everything that we do, but
mm,
what would you say to a health professional when they are dealing with women in birth?
mm. What would I say? I would say, and I mean, this came out in the birth trauma report, which is probably maybe a month ago now that came out.
Hmm,
Um, just the top line, and it's the same thing that I see individually when I speak to women. They just want to be heard. So
yeah,
if I could say anything to a healthcare professional, it would be to listen, and don't listen to reply, listen to understand,
yeah,
and and trust her. If she says something hurts, it probably hurts. If she says that she feels like she wants to push, she probably wants to push. Like if she says that she needs pain relief, she needs pain relief.
yeah,
Um, so it would really be to listen. I mean, a lot of women that I've spoken to, like even they've had a very traumatic experience, have said if someone could have just sat by me or just held my hand and just said, "Gosh, that was really hard." Like, do you want to like? Can I have a moment? Like, just at that compassion. If
yeah,
there's anything I could say, if they could just have compassion for the woman that's going through what she's going through, like she's at her most vulnerable,
vulnerable.
trying her best um, to just listen and to have compassion.
Yes, yes. When we are on a situation like that, such a vulnerability, we
Mm,
just sometimes it's someone just to see us and
mm,
hear us,
yeah,
to
that's it.
understand what we are going through, and just
Mhm.
a kind word. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's what it
makes a
takes, right?
huge difference, like a huge, huge difference. I've had so many women that have been through, really turbulent experiences have just said, if someone could have just looked at me, like
Yeah,
it would have made such a difference. And you think that's just so small,
yeah. It is so
you know,
small. Yeah,
and it would have made such a difference. Yeah. That
yeah.
kind word, yeah. That seeing and hearing the person, yeah, is what I would say.
Thank you. And I love that, and thank you for everything that you shared in terms of your work. Before we finish, because we are almost at the time to finish, I
Yes.
have two questions for you, not
Yeah.
specifically related to this topic,
Hmm.
but I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
The first one is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Mm, what advice would I give to my younger self? I would probably say a few things, but I would say I would say um, your intuition, that thought that you have about that gut feeling, it's true. Okay.
Mm, I
All the
like that.
times that you feel it, it's true. I would probably tell her to follow your gut more. That's probably what I would say.
Well,
Follow those gut feelings more because they are accurate.
I love that. That's a great advice. And the last one, what is one specific action? And I love action, so I think we all need to take action, and small, imperfect action. So, what is one specific action or step that you would like our audience to feel inspired to take in order to improve their lives in some area or achieve a goal after they watch this chat?
Mm, again, quite a few, but one, um, take a 5-minute walk outside every day.
Oh,
Yeah, without music.
that's an interesting
Without
one. Why?
allow the thoughts to come in. I
Okay.
feel like if you can walk in nature, like I live, I have like a field back there, but I know not everyone lives by a lot of deep like nature or woods or stuff. But you might have to walk on a main road, but I believe that nature gives us the ideas and the thoughts.
Mm,
When we have space, like downloads can come in. And I think it's harder if you've got music or listen to a podcast or something like that. So even if you're like listening to this, like when it's finished, could have like just no noise, just for 5 minutes. Just have no noise for 5 minutes and walk outside and just see what happens. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Just 5 minutes.
just 5 minutes. I love that. Yes,
Yeah.
I do believe as well that the contact with nature is so important, so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I loved our chat. And
Yeah.
to all those that joined us live, or if you are watching the replay, let us know if you have any comments or
Mhm.
questions. We would love to hear from you. And
Absolutely.
wish you a lovely weekend. And I will see you soon in one of another Be Legendary Fireside Chats. Thank you,
Thank
Divina,
you
and
so
thank
much.
you all. Bye,
See
everyone.
you.